It's 7 p.m. Thank you. 7 p.m. Welcome to the meeting of Spring Valley Committed Planning Group. So let's take roll and see if we have a quorum. Jesse, if you proceed.
Yes. First off, we have Tiffany Gonzalez.
Here.
Laura Lowe's.
Here.
I am here. Jesse Robles. Chris Pierce.
Here.
Roger Saleh.
I don't see Roger here.
John Eugenio.
Yeah, present.
Present. Mr. Scott Harris.
Here.
Scott Schaefer.
Here.
Rod Gibbons.
Here.
Chris Pearson.
Here.
Jim Cousteau.
I'm here. Thanks.
Victoria Renica.
Here.
Oh, here. Edward Woodruff.
Here.
Bob Ebley.
Here.
And Mr. Tim Snyder is here.
I'm here. Thank
All
you.
right. I have just Roger absent for today. So we have
Okay,
14
fine.
present,
And
1 absent.
excellent. All right, good. I can find my opening sheet here because I haven't memorized it yet. So we have 14 present, so we have a quorum. We are elected or appointed non-paid members of our community. We are charged to advise the county on discretionary projects as well as planning and land use matters that are proposed within our community planning group area. So let me go ahead and bring the agenda up. And there we go. That's not the agenda. All right, let's stop the share and then restart it. There we go. I'm looking seriously for the agenda and I don't seem to have it up at the moment. So hang with me, guys.
You sent it out, Tim. We all have it.
Yes, did
Yeah, I
you-
know.
I got it
I
right in
know.
front of me. I mean, how lazy are we? Come on, buddy.
Mr. Chairman, do the public communications usually go to you, or do people send in, or we just call off the?
No, just go ahead and whoever's got their hand raised. Why don't we go ahead and do that? For public communication, if there's anybody from the public, I see Jesse, I see Becky Rapp.
Miss Becky Rapp. You are still muted. Miss Rapp, you're still muted.
Can you hear me?
Loud and
Yes.
clear.
Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Becky Rapp, and I am a public health educator and a parent. And I have come and spoke to you in the past regarding the marijuana ordinance the county is bringing forward in the unincorporated areas of the county. Some important news I felt was pertinent to our local situation came out recently from Sacramento. And the county supervisors in Sacramento voted to reject legal marijuana sales in their rural unincorporated areas. This is monumental, as Sacramento is similar in size to San Diego County and would profit alike. I think it's important that we acknowledge and consider the negative consequences as Sacramento has done. Residents of unincorporated communities have voiced their concerns here in San Diego with the ordinance, and I hope you'll be inclined to share their opinions with county supervisors. According to a recent article in the LA Times, Northern California has permitted large-scale licensed pot farms, but this has not slowed down the illegal market. In fact, illegal marijuana cultivation has continued to thrive, often to the detriment of the environment. And this is the number one reason our county uses in moving this ordinance forward. They recognize that they need permitted marijuana stores to combat the illegal market. But what we are seeing out of Northern California is quite the opposite. Illicit growers have flattened hillsides, sprayed pesticides, and diverted streams. Northern California has admitted that the problem is worse now than prior to Prop 64 passing, with over 50,000 illegal grows each year. So it's crucial to recognize that normalization and commercialization of marijuana, it's not benefiting our county and will not benefit Spring Valley. And I just urge you to come to the Board of Supervisors meeting next week. They meet Tuesday and Wednesday morning. You can also attend virtually. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rapp. Next up, looks like we have Ryan Trabucco.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Ryan Trabucco here with County Supervisor Nora Vargas's office. Great to virtually see everybody. I don't have a whole lot to discuss other than I do know the last week we did, which I think is actually on your agenda, and you're probably going to talk about it later, is I know we got the vote, I believe it was unanimous, for the community signage program that the county is doing. I know county staff is going to be coming back to us with some finalized ideas and options on the program itself. But it was a very robust discussion, and I think a lot of the supervisors are in. I mean, I don't want to speak for all the other supervisors, but it does sound like there's a consensus among the Board of Supervisors on finding a good way to manage that community signage program. And then the other thing I'll just mention is I know I saw some of you in person last week for the Corey Road public meeting. The county staff was out there. They did a fantastic job. They were telling me people were lined up there like at 4:15 waiting to see everything. And we had about well over 100 people showed up, which was fantastic. So again, yeah, if you need anything from me, I will put my information in the chat, but it's great to see everybody, and I'll be here hopefully as long as I can be. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, Jesse, looks like we got somebody on the phone.
Yeah, sorry, I was typing up here. Yes, we have last four of the phone number is 1822. You have your hand raised.
Yes,
Please state your name and you can proceed with your comments if you can.
hi. Hi. My name is Peggy Walker, and thank you for letting me speak. I belong to a group of public health educators and parents who track drug legislation issues. And I also wanted to speak to that action at last week's Board of Supervisors meeting when supervisors approved the language in favor of a marijuana tax measure that will go on the November ballot, as the earlier speaker addressed. This November ballot measure invites voters countywide to vote yea or nay on that tax measure for proposed marijuana commercialization in rural areas. Both commercialization and the tax measure have been spearheaded by Chair Nathan Fletcher, who lives in a totally urban district with no rural areas. And at Chair Fletcher's bidding, the entire county will vote on the tax measure, but those tax revenues will go into the county's general fund. This means that rural areas will bear all the harms and the hazards and risks of marijuana businesses in their neighborhoods, with no guarantee of any tax revenues in return. That's because supervisors may direct those funds any way they choose. Nor is there a guarantee those tax revenues will compensate for law enforcement in rural areas. You may recall that the City of San Diego marijuana tax was approved as a ballot measure, but once approved, the highly funded marijuana industry managed to have those tax revenues reduced significantly. So I just wanted to come and say that this push comes as marijuana-related ER admissions and mental health issues are rising significantly due to unprecedentedly high THC potency with accompanying high health costs. We don't know what the impact will be on our rural areas of these new widespread businesses. But if this tax measure concerns you, as it does me and so many others, I urge you as well to attend the Board of Supervisor meetings next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday is the easiest day to speak in public comment and voice your concerns. A no vote on this tax measure would help stem the marijuana expansion that supervisors are pushing in our rural areas. And that tax measure may enrich county coffers, but no guarantee it will work to the benefit of rural residents. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you just, for the record, clarify how you spell your last name, please?
Walker, W-A-L-K-E-R.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Walker. And next up, we have Laura Lowe's.
I just wanted to ask Ryan Trabucco, and maybe it's Jim Cousteau also. Are we talking about the design review guidelines for new signs and illegal signs in Spring Valley particular to us?
Yeah, I mean, I'll defer to the chair if the chair wants to answer that, since you addressed both of us, but I'm happy to answer that as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, yeah, so my understanding is the community design program is essentially what the county wants to do is create a signage program that instead of having, and I'm sure they're nice, those green signs that say, you know, welcome to Bonita and unincorporated community of San Diego County or whatever. What the county would like to do and what they'd like to see is those signs, like some of the neighborhoods in San Diego have, like Hillcrest and North Park and others that kind of like that span the streets. I know, you know, obviously the one in Spring Valley, at least the one that I'm aware of, is in that shopping center, and it looks so dated. So obviously one of the things that later on down the road, I think that in the event that this passes, of course, that we'll have to figure out is going back to the communities, especially the unincorporated communities. So this county program is only for the unincorporated communities, not any of the communities in actual incorporated cities. So this is all for the unincorporated areas, you know, to go back and see where specifically they would want some of those signs. And then, of course, looking to see, and this is going to be some of the things that county staff is going to come back to at some point, is figuring out what the financial mechanism of that is. So, you know, does the county fully fund a sign like that for one of the communities, or is there an applicant or a developer that comes in that says, you know, we can pay for half the sign and the county can pay for half the sign? So it's that financing piece that I think needs to be massaged out, and that's the options that county staff is coming back at a later meeting for.
Okay, that's totally different from what I thought it was, and I think it's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Personally, I just feel bad that I've been segregated from my community by this reorganization, because I've lived in Spring Valley for almost 30 years, and now I'm in La Mesa area for representation, which doesn't make me very happy.
All right, Jesse, do we have any other public comments?
It does not appear so. If there's anybody else, raise your hand. Looks like that is it.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to item D, the action items. Number one is discuss and vote on suggested changes to our community design guidelines, specifically for signage. I'm going to go ahead and share that. And this is, we looked at this once before. I don't believe we voted on it. I forwarded it to Jessica Turner, who in turn forwarded it to somebody else who's responsible for design guidelines. And I haven't heard a thing. It's been some months since that happened. So I felt that someone suggested in our previous meeting that we revisit this and make sure we're comfortable with changes and edits, and then vote on it so that we can get back to them and say, you know, we voted on this or we didn't vote on this, and see how they react to that. So is that pretty accurate, Jim and Laura?
I have some questions.
Okay. Well, I'm not really going
When
to
the time
present.
comes. When the
Yeah,
time-
I mean, what you said is accurate. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm not really going to present this. The group has seen these a couple times, including very recently, last few days. And I wanted to find out, based on the edit marks within the body of this document, what do they think about it? Do they think anything further needs to be changed before we vote on it? So throwing it out to the group, Laura, you have your hand up. Go right ahead.
Yeah, on the very first page, and it says Spring Valley's Design Review Guidelines. The first paragraph should, I think, say something about reducing blight, because that's part of the reason that we do this is to try to reduce the blight on.
No, are you looking at the design guidelines in general or what I have up on the screen right now?
Yes, but it's not, I'm not all the way to E. I guess it's the cover page.
Yeah, I don't think, Jim, we included in the cover page and what needed to be changed, correct?
Or you didn't? You decided not to go into any of that?
Well, we mostly looked at the technical details.
Okay, because they changed it to 3/4. Okay, if we want to go there then, on that signage page then, because mine goes sideways.
Okay,
After Bancroft Ranch, 1, 2, 3, the fourth dot. It says frontage is over 100 lineal feet. The total signage should be limited to 3/4 square foot area instead of the 0.65 that we had before.
okay.
Is that correct? Is that?
Yeah, that's the proposed change.
That's correct. Yeah, it's kind of more in line with what we've been approving. And that was the reason I made those
Well, when the next
suggestions.
guy comes and wants it to be 80%, then we'll change it to that.
Well, that's always a possibility, right? I mean,
Oh, well,
Well, it's good to have a number that we can stand by or stand behind. And
well, if
I
we're not
don't-
gonna, if we're not gonna stand behind what we haven't been apparently for a long time, so I don't know what to say about it. I'm just kind of thinking that,
well, Jim, has there been a progression of larger and larger sign requests?
well,
Not
you know,
necessarily,
I think,
but-
I know the very first one I carried when I got on this planning group, back to the smart and final signage. You know, the design guidelines didn't really allow a sign that was in harmonious with the scope and scale, the size of the building, and particularly the setback of the building from the street. And we run into this almost virtually every time we do signage. I know, Laura, that you hold a different opinion. You generally vote against the signage, but by and large, we've been approving signage that's kind of reasonably consistent with the recommended changes that we have here. And I think,
Yeah. well,
you
a long
know.
time ago, we didn't have big buildings like that. When these were done, it was like 1992, I think, or 91.
yeah, it was redone quite a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And when a
So-
finding can be made that a larger size is necessary to maintain a compatible and harmonious scale, I think the ones at the Target and that, I think those came out okay. I think they're a little bit large, but apparently right now we're kind of in an anything goes kind of situation where if somebody comes to us and wants something bigger, sure, we'll go ahead and do it.
Well, I mean, we're going to discuss it. We're going to compare it against the design guidelines, and we're also going to look at proportion too. And you know, that was the case with that party time market, is that we looked at that sign that was going to be on their building, and it proportionally it looked anemic compared to the size of the store. And I think we gave them a little more leeway on that. But I think it's going to be a case by case no matter what. So,
Well, then
I
we're
think-
really not going by anything but what the developer wants or the sign maker wants.
well,
It's
no,
not always the property owner or the business owner. It's
Uh,
the sign maker that makes more profit because he sells them on a bigger sign.
I think maybe, Tim, I might suggest we go down the line and let everyone have a say at this. Laura's pretty clear in kind of her position, so probably ought
Okay,
to hear
there's
from
a
others.
space in here still that says illuminated projected onto a sign face is preferred over internal illumination. Do we want to keep that?
Yeah, that was recommended that we change that previously, and I think that's probably a good recommendation that we change that. At least I would agree with
Well,
that.
Nobody really wants it, I don't think anymore, and then it has the opportunity to shine up into the sky. So I think you're right on that.
What line was that? Each of the,
Called page 66.
96 was the line.
so line 96. So if we could, anybody that wants to react to this document, there's numbers for each sentence on the left-hand side.
thank
And
you.
that will get you right to where we need to be to address that. And there was
Sorry to
some
jump in real quick.
recommendation.
We were working off of a Google Doc at one point. I think in May 6th, you sent a Google Doc, and that's where I made my changes. So I don't know if we're going to go down the list and people like Laura's comments, she wants to specify her language instead of trying to hash it out here online and trying to spell it out, we can type in our comments or whatever, because
Well, I thought we were going over this for approval.
yeah,
No?
We can be, but it doesn't necessarily, we're going to get to a position where we're going to vote on it.
Yeah, and there's nothing to say we can't make some edits to this document before we bring it to a vote.
Right.
If you go down 2 dots where you put in must, I like that, but unfortunately the county hates it, but maybe the word shall instead of must might make the county a little bit more amenable to us. I don't know. I'm not saying that that should be done, but, and then, let's see. Go down a little bit. No sign should. Okay, wait. Okay, right there, first line. No sign should be allowed to project above any portion of the associated building. I thought our signs were limited to the bottom of the roof. Should not go above the roof. Or should not go on the roof.
Yeah, I think we've talked about as being the roof line, like even if they have a facade, like they did with those previous signs that were on the parapet. Thank you. So just nothing above the roof line, essentially. And I think that kind of says that.
Of any portion of,
Well,
well,
I
it
would
says that the
disagree
roof
with
should would be included. No sign should be allowed to project above any portion of the associated building. Well, that means it could be on the roof as long as it's not above the roof. It doesn't-
Well, Scott, what was your comment?
Well, I think if we look back at the target sign's quite a bit above the roof, but it's not above the parapet that was
Right.
built.
Yeah.
And so I think that, to me, that's fine.
Well, then we're gonna have people with roof signs.
So I'm not necessarily sure that sentence is accurate. Maybe we should say instead
Well,
of,
you know, what we could do is say no sign shall be allowed to project above any portion of the vertical surface of the associated building.
It's called a parapet. I think if we just use the word parapet, that should be fine.
I think that, because it is in here somewhere. I saw that. There's a change there that shows that. And I
Yeah,
read that here.
you could have a gable type roof where somebody could argue that we're not going to put it above the highest point of the roof, but it's going to be on the roof. You follow what you follow? I think that's what Laura's kind of driving
Yeah.
at here, is that
right.
And I would agree with Laura at that point, yeah.
Well, we require these building elevations to have some variety to them. And one of those varieties is to break up the roof line. So when we allow them to do that and they put the sign on that higher portion that breaks up the roof line, by definition, we're allowing that space, but we're telling them we can't put a sign on it. So I'm thinking that if above any portion of the parapet, which would be anything that is where the roof line stops, even if it's higher than other portions of the roof line. And I think Target is a classic example of that.
Are you talking about the peak of the roof or are you talking about the bottom of the roof? Because I thought we were always about the bottom of the roof. It can't go at the roof line. Can't go above the roof line, but I
Well-
thought the roof line was the bottom of the roof rather than the peak.
I think we're talking about any highest portion of the vertical facade, which would be a parapet.
So it'd be a facade. So that doesn't mean the roof. That doesn't refer anyway
Well,
to
the roof is the horizontal portion. We don't even see it in most cases.
Yeah,
We have a lot
unless
of old buildings.
it's like an 812, or some kind of building that doesn't have a flat roof. There's a lot of those kind of buildings.
Right.
We have a lot of those old buildings. Yeah.
Jim, how long is this section here? Because it looks like there's not a lot of changes going forward.
No, the rest of it's pretty well exactly the same as it was before.
So
Zoning ordinance, do you have the zoning ordinance part 6250? I think that's further down.
yeah,
Oh, the county ordinance? No, I don't think.
Wasn't that in here?
No,
No.
And I'm not necessarily sure we should.
I got this and I printed it out right here.
Oh yeah, but I've looked at the county, and the county doesn't have any specific interest in design guidelines as it relates to Spring Valley.
Would you ask them then on item N as in Nancy to take out trading stamps offered? Because we don't have that anymore. I'd like to be a little more modern than that.
Yeah, well, you know how that goes. But yeah, I early on in my career here with the planning group, I started looking at the zoning, and I realized that I was going to end up being a heretic if I quoted the zoning over anything in the design guideline. So I stayed away from doing that. Does anybody have any other general thoughts about these highlighted changes, additions, corrections, etc.?
Well, back.
This is Scott again. I think an increase in the signage is what we've been headed toward. And I think Jim's minor increases in the signage, or the sign size, I should say, is fine. But on the other hand, I like Laura's comment concerning the lighting as well. I think we need to identify illumination, how bright the sign can be. I think we need to identify the hours of the length of time that a sign can be illuminated. And those were my thoughts.
Okay.
Based then on hours of operation?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did see something about that as far as signs. What you had said, I saw this in here later.
Now, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong. Are there separate signage sections in the design guidelines that talk about illumination?
Mm-hmm.
Not the brightness. The only thing we really address is the opaque backgrounds and how the sign's going to be illuminated.
Yeah, it was changed to shall instead of we would like it that way, and I like that part of it. It shall be opaque. I read that in here. I don't see it yet right now, but that was put in here.
So you're saying where eternal illuminated panels are proposed, the background shall be opaque?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's softer than must.
There you go.
I think they're synonymous terms, but
well, yes, but the county doesn't like anything that says definitely you have to do something. You know how they are. But shall seems to be a little bit more amenable to them. And I don't know if it'll make a difference, but.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable adjustment there.
Sure.
Now, there was that other part going down further where it talks about preferring externally illuminated signage.
Yeah, face lighting onto the sign.
Yeah.
I just talked about that a bit ago. Where is that?
It was actually up here, right there. 96. Yeah, line 96. Thanks, Bob. So let's get rid of that not sure about this, and let's be sure about what we're saying. Do we really want to say that we prefer that there's literally a light shining on the sign versus internal illumination?
No.
Yeah, I think we prefer internal illumination. That's kind of been our, following the other parts of the guidelines about opaque for the background.
Back when we were considered rural, they really preferred, the lights shining onto the sign like more old fashioned, but we're not that anymore.
Well, that and the advent of LEDs.
Well, that's true too. Absolutely.
Yes.
But now the term opaque, we're allowing people to use a dark green color and let it shine out. Is that unacceptable thou with that verbiage? Must be or shall be opaque, which means no light shines through, right?
That's correct, unless it's a logo. I mean, in some cases, it's a logo for their business, and they argue that it's part of their signage and it's part of their.
Yeah, Starbucks.
Right. Yeah, and I think we've been pretty successful of late, particularly dealing with major corporations. I just went by that new Chick-fil-A down there by the Smart and Final. And the signage there actually came out to be what we were asking them to do. The same thing is true with that little mini mall over there by the IHOP. I went by and saw all that new signage. Looks great.
Awful.
Huh? You don't like it?
I can't, it's like all up and down and up and down. It's not level. It's one's high, one's low and high. And maybe that helps separate it so people can see it better. I don't know, but I found it.
It looks a lot cleaner
disorienting.
it's a lot cleaner than it used to be. Okay,
It's
so
cleaner, but you can't really read it.
where are we here with this, gang?
I'm
You
done
wanna
with
vote?
mine, with what I had to say.
Do we want to vote on it as a whole? Let's get some more comments. Jesse, I think you had your hand up first.
Yes, I think a couple of people had their hands up, but at one point there was a suggestion to just go down the roster. Do we just want to do that once and for all, or
Well, we got a couple of people with their hands up. That's not a lot. So can we
right
go
on.
to,
Okay, so again, like I was saying, I had put in my my comments into the Google Doc that Jim sent out in May, and so it's really just grammatical. So starting at the top, signage. So there's Jim's. I'm working off of the Google Doc, so I'm just going to be looking back and forth here. So if you go all the way up to the top, okay, so that's the same. It is recognized that so this third paragraph here, yeah, this is where I
Got it.
just add. So I
Line
put it,
11.
thank
there
you.
you go, 11. Thank you. It is recognized that businesses must be visible in the community. It is also understood that site conditions may necessitate the relaxation of the following guidelines on occasion. That's the same. To allow businesses a minimum level of identification for the product or services they provide.
Okay.
The thing about that is what you're gonna see is one guy has this size sign, so this guy wants a bigger
Hold
sign.
on, hold
But
on,
it's
Laura.
true.
Just let me get through these, please. So again, it is recognized that businesses must be visible in the community. It is also, all that's the same. To allow, so line 13,
Uh-huh.
to allow businesses, so remove the A, to allow a business. It's just to allow businesses
Gotcha. Okay.
a minimum level of identification for the products or services they provide. That's what I was saying in the Google Doc. You guys can just accept what or reject whatever is on.
If it's grammatical, then I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think what we're really looking at causes us to have to, but like measurements for area or opaqueness or illumination or anything along that line. So as far as grammatical, no. We
What do you
can
mean, no?
incorporate.
What are you saying?
Well, I don't think grammatical changes are going to be the gist of why we vote tonight, although they're important.
I don't think anyone is saying that. I thought, we're voting on something which is the final language that we're trying to send. So
Sure.
let's send a clean version. So
Sure.
that's what we're
Absolutely.
voting.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So how we look so far?
When you have businesses, take out the business.
Yeah, I got a line drawn through it.
I can't see it, doesn't show.
Yeah, I've
It
got,
shows on mine.
there we go.
Okay.
Okay, Jesse, go ahead. What do you got next?
There's a line, what is this, Principal Street? There's a, where is it? Mine doesn't have the lines. I was trying to add the lines so I can start following with you. Principal, this is sign area calculation. What is this? Page 1, page 2, excuse me, right underneath. It's a second bullet underneath Bancroft Ranch.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Way down there.
Oh, some of
Yeah.
that you were talking about identification signs and stuff. Some of that I think is county. That stuff.
Line 30, Jim.
Line 30? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Principal Street, I believe the proper use is Principal AL, not LE.
Okay, cool.
I understand these
PAL
are
is a
not,
school.
I understand this is inconsequential, but if we're going through it and we're gonna.
Oh, no. No. Line 30?
That's
So
the-
where,
That's where
where-
Jesse was
Line
talking.
30, 40.
Principal with an A, like, isn't that referring to like a principal of a school?
That's right.
there's
PAL is the
multiple-
principal of a school.
Yes,
Got it.
there's multiple uses. So if you guys look at some of like planning documents or planning that uses the word principal street referring to like the primary street, they use the AL spelling, but
Well, that's wrong.
okay.
That's wrong in incorrect English.
okay, that's
That's
why
the
we're
principal of a
bringing these up.
school.
Hey, Laura, we're just getting through these. So if you guys don't want it, then that's fine. So I was just using professional documents because I don't think any of us.
Not a problem. Not a
Right.
problem. Okay, what do we got next, Jesse?
That's it for me.
Oh, okay, cool. So let's see, John, you've had your hand up for a while.
I have. You need to go down, go slowly so I can pick out the area that I was concerned about. I can find it again. I mean, it was said, keep going, a little bit more. Hold it right there. That last, in red, number 74, 75 and 76. I think that's a good statement, but I also think it should be presented in the first part of the document.
Oh, okay.
Also, I mean, you can leave it there, but I think it should be presented really early so the proponent knows that they should work closely with the planning group and when developing signage. Basically all I had.
No, it should almost be a mantra.
That's
Call it first.
copy and paste at line 30.
Gotcha.
Pardon?
Copy
Yeah,
and paste.
we could be redundant and say it in multiple places. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not a
I
big
would
deal.
say, I would say it a couple of times, just to reiterate it so it
Line
stands out.
31,
Line 31.
Anyone?
you went too far.
Well, we could actually put it in the
Put it
first.
higher up. I think that's great.
Put it
Yeah,
in the
right-
first, I'd
right
put it
there.
in the, I
Yeah,
might,
There, yeah.
I'm,
that's good too.
I might recommend you put it in the first paragraph of the document,
There you go.
Absolutely.
Is there a first paragraph? There is.
right where it says signage.
Mhm.
I'd
Yeah,
put it
number
right
two.
after the word, right there after line 4.
I'll fix that, guys. Don't worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just eliminate the bullet on that if you, there you go.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That was John. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
No, thank you. Rod?
Hi, group. Yeah, I just wanted to share with you when we talk signage. Now, I've been in the business for about 13 years, permits, project management, design. You got to remember, like Jesse was saying, the corporation that bought that or the business within the dwelling, they've been sold on a sign idea. 33% of their business comes because of their sign. So that's the start of them just within their own dwelling. The architect actually built that parapet or what they call eyebrow for a sign. So we could probably say no roof signs, but putting it on the parapet or putting it on the eyebrow that was intended by the architect. I don't know, it seems like I'm overriding somebody who's gone to school to do what they know to do. Signs are also based on size of letter. The sign is developed and designed by the size of distance. So if I need to see that sign 100 feet away, that letter needs to be 10 inches. So for each inch multiply by 10, that gives you the distance our eyes see. So my designer, when I come back to the desk, always asks me, what is our client looking for? So once again, I like Jesse's idea. Let's continue thinking about our tenant. That's all I have.
Thank you. Good point.
What's an
Absolutely.
eyebrow?
It's that little piece that you see sometimes above the door that's recessed into the wall. That is what's either the eyebrow or known as the sign location. It's the sign indicator. Each architect that builds a building will build an intention for signage.
Oh,
Okay. So once again, Laura, I agree with you. It's ugly having a sign above a rooftop, but on a rooftop, I think is what we don't want.
no.
Above, I mean, the city of LA, we're talking about an ugly looking city. You know, they don't even allow them pretty much on the roof anymore. But to hang over the roof, there's usually a foot to 13 inches allowed. About the only other thing I saw in our package was signs that hang. A lot of counties and cities are gonna really look at that tight because we don't like that hanging in a pedestrian path. So that sign that hangs will probably be brought back off the walking path of our sidewalks. That's really all I got, group.
Thanks, Rod. Bob?
Line 84. Sign area should be limited to 10 square feet for, just put projects with with the S in parentheses and take out project for or projects. Just make it
Gotcha.
one project with an S in parentheses at the end.
Good.
And then
Parentheses on both sides of the S. There you go. Yeah.
line 88 at the end, change that. Well, it's not even on your thing. On mine, it says letter height should be limited to a maximum of 6 inches. I'd rather see that at 10.
But that's on the, that's specific to
Multi-
that thing, isn't it?
It's
That's
multi.
on, that's for multi-dwelling, that's for residential or multi-family residential, I think. It's a
Right,
different area.
right, but I still think 10 inches should be well, limited to a maximum of 6 seems small. I mean, Rod was just saying, a lot of these apartment buildings, they can be 50, 100 feet off the sidewalk.
Yeah, usually the letter or street address is ran by the postal service. So I'm not really sure, but Bob, they're usually 6 to 8. But here again, it could be based on what county's doing. Postal.
Right, but this is a sign identifying the multi-family residence, not the address.
You're talking about including a project like Sweetwater Vistas or Sweetwater Place. Okay.
Their monument, you mean their monument sign?
Yes. You
Yeah,
want-
once again, that will be based on, what they'll do is they'll calculate what's being proposed by the client, what kind of monument they want, double-sided, round, whatever. Then they'll figure out, like you said, what corners are being related to it. Are 3 streets hitting it or 2 streets? And then where do we want to pick up the first person? And then that's the letter size they start with. Yes, sir.
6
But
just
monument
seems
signs,
small.
monument signs are specific to being 2 sides only. It's in here.
Saw one
read
the other
that.
day. I saw one in a parking structure that was like a triangle, just for parking structure. It was 3-sided.
But it's
Yeah.
in here that it says just 2 sides. So if we find, when we find that, we probably change that if we want to.
And you guys wonder why I keep a ruler around for reference, huh? So what do you want to do? You want to, how's the group feel about changing it to a max of 10 inches?
No.
I leave it at 6.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. I'm on the 6 too.
Okay,
I don't even remember dealing with one of these.
Well,
Maybe,
there's
maybe once in the last 8 years that I've been on the group.
There's one proposed for Sweetwater Vistas. I know that. It's going to be part of their block wall, I think, at the entrance or something. So we'll see one coming. It'll probably be a little while. But
back to line 96. Under design parameters, your 96 is my, no, your 100 is my 96.
Okay.
Have we decided on how we're gonna finally word that?
Yeah, how about we say internal elimination is preferred over projected elimination.
I
yeah,
agree.
that's my comment right there where I'm saying reverse it.
Yeah,
Can we allow, can we
Oh,
allow, them to-
it says reserve it, not reverse it.
Oh,
can we allow them to do downlighting? That's
I
the
don't
new.
think we,
That's
I
the,
don't think
that's the-
we have.
We
That's the
haven't
new
had a
pre-
downlit sign in a long time.
well, that's
Yeah.
the new preferable versus the LEDs.
One of the new
Like-
signs that we had, I think in that shopping center where the Chick-fil-A is, I think a couple of those signs are downlit.
I don't remember those being downlit. Interesting.
But just
okay.
because I remember, it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, and
No.
it's not a hard statement. In other words, we're just saying it's preferred, so.
Yeah.
We're not saying must or shall. So it'll read basically internal illumination project on the sign face is preferred over projected lighting onto the sign. Something
Yeah,
to that
yeah.
effect.
I'll just craft it in reverse. That's fine. Bob, is that it for you?
Yeah, I'm done.
Rod, you still have your hand up? You have further question, comment?
No, I'm sorry, I'll take it down. Has anybody looked at the county sign guidelines?
They're very liberal compared to ours.
Oh, quite so. I
All right,
mean,
I wanted to feel how you guys felt. Yeah, I see them every other day. So I'm very aware of what they do over there. I'll take my hand down.
Isn't it better for us to be a little bit more restrictive since we have such a problem?
well, yeah, and then sooner or later we'll reach an equilibrium. My classic test is that truck bed camper place along Hamashaw Boulevard with the 8 to 10 foot sign above the parapet. And until that sign comes down, I want to be restrictive about signage. Okay. that's my test. But I think all in all, I think we're doing a very good job. But these changes will help to give us that little bit of leeway that we haven't had before. But I think when we get to sign discussions, I think that's where we kind of shine because we've got numbers and math and things like that to work with. And signage is a problem. I mean, I'd love to drive along Hamashaw Boulevard and knock down every temporary banner that's along the sidewalks there. Just drive right by and cut them down.
Could you
But
go down again for, there was a part I saw slowly, a little bit more. Oh, right, stop. It's on line 112, typefaces should be chosen for simplicity and clarity. That's fine. But
Yeah.
the signs on older buildings are encouraged to use a typeface consistent with the period when the building was constructed.
now I don't see a lot of, oldie shoppy
It's
type
kinda
places.
odd, isn't it?
Yes, it is odd. It doesn't.
Oh, that's the language as it's been since whenever.
That's what all of this is.
Other
Yeah.
than the Bancroft House, please somebody tell me about an antique place where that signage would be appropriate. And if it was an antique building and they came up with an antique logo, I mean, we wouldn't judge it based on that anyway. We judge it based on the sign and the illumination, the opacity, et cetera, right?
Why don't we just delete that second sentence from however to constructed?
Yeah. Well, okay, so just leave it saying typeface should be chosen for simplicity and clarity.
And just
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we could deal with something different based on a case by case basis.
I agree.
Gotcha.
It just seemed to
Good.
be a little bit too much. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments from the group?
Tim, I read on in here that it says when you put up a straight up sign, you have to put a piece like here to I guess to reinforce it, but we've never done that. And haven't seen too many signs that actually do that.
No. I mean,
Okay, I won't consider it an issue then.
yeah, and that's probably typically a sign that is above the parapet anyway, and that's one we're going to shoot down as it is. That
I think
needs.
it was freestanding sign.
Okay. No, I don't think we've had an issue with that. Chris Pierce, you got your hand up.
And my question was just for the pole signs that are out by the street. Are those outlined in here, or when you say that signs can't be above the roof or parapet, does that include those signs?
No, it does not.
And should it say that, or? does it
Well,
need-
that has another criteria. That's like the 6 foot height signs. Um,
Is that those
And-
banners, those nylon banners?
no, he's talking about a permanent sign that's on a pole. It's like the 7-Eleven or the Arco that has a gas station sign or things along that line. But
Pole
those,
signs are strongly discouraged, right, still?
not necessarily, no.
Should we have
Yeah,
guidelines
yeah.
crafted to go for, to state what we would like to see those signs look like and heights? I know we can't control the ones close to the freeway, like for the gas stations, but the ones more inland. I mean,
Counties
Well,
have height standards, but I don't know if they include signs.
the ones that list like gas station prices, for example, that's a weights and measure issue. The ones that are on the road, that's a weights and measure combined with Caltrans along for freeway. So the pole sign, you're kind of, the only really have is all the other rules like opacity, illumination, et cetera, typeface, letter size. And then on top of that, the height of the sign, 6 foot.
Yeah, line 162.
Yeah.
This is what's strongly discouraged, I think, if you go back to the,
Yeah,
Right, and I think that language is still fine. The problem we run into is a lot of these signs, like in shopping centers and things, are all grandfathered in.
Yes.
And,
but when we can get to them, should we try to get rid of them?
Yes.
Should we?
Well,
ask
you know,
how long we're allowed?
if they cut them down and they want to build new ones, install new stuff in the ground, then technically we could say, no, we're not going to allow that.
Well,
Yes.
if they actually take the sign down, it can't go back up
Correct.
nowadays.
They can keep repairing it and re-skinning it and doing all that kind of stuff, would be my understanding. It would be
Yeah.
fall under the grandfather clause.
But if it
Yeah.
comes down, we got them.
Chris,
Who's gonna know
Chris, you
what's
have-
gonna fall?
Chris Pierce, you have a further question?
I just think it would be helpful to have like more illustrated or picture photographic examples throughout the document to try to portray what you guys are trying to get across.
Yeah.
We can go
But you got to be careful about that because the vendors have a tendency to say, well, you won't let me have this sign, but the guy across the street has that kind of sign and that size of sign and that illumination. And so we have to be careful about what we add in as an example, because we have to go find an example that fits the rule.
I mean, like the whole parapet and eyebrow and, those kind of like, so they know what we're talking about.
Mhm.
And I think the section that says that based on the distance, we can make adjustments based on, how far it is from the street. We do have that sentence in there
Right.
that
Right.
allows us to kind of sometimes go above.
Well, I think we've been really fortunate with the designers and with the sign companies and with the permit companies that have come to us, and pretty much their language is our language, or they've read these and they know what we're shooting for. So I'm really hesitant to put in illustrative examples because it might have a tendency to allow for argument.
Yeah, it could paint us into a corner, I think.
Yeah.
But do we want to let signs be over 6 feet, pole signs be over 6 feet in height? They really contribute to the blight. That's one of the worst things. When you go down the street, that's what you see is those pole signs that really shouldn't be there, but
Yeah.
Well, that's why we have that language. Both signs.
Yeah.
over 6
strongly
feet.
discouraged doesn't mean you can't have it.
Right.
Oh, we don't like it. And the guy goes, okay, I'm gonna do that anyway.
Right. Rod Gibbons.
The word pole is now called a pylon.
Oh,
So there's
Okay.
your word, there's your word change, and
You could
Is that a
do,
monument sign?
you slash.
well,
pylon if you like.
monument's different.
No, they're called pylons. That's it.
PYLON.
Yeah.
And I guess I can find any other reference to pole in here and do the same, except for that pole hanging sign is just, like the old ice cream shoppy, that kind of stuff. Okay. Thanks, Rod. You got anything else, buddy?
Do we have anything in there about height of monument signs? I think we do.
Yes,
Elsewhere.
4 feet.
Yeah.
It says 4 feet in here.
Yes, not exceed 4 feet.
Yeah, okay.
And for average size projects. Yeah.
It says
And
should
again-
not exceed 4 feet, but
And again, when you're dealing with a shopping center that has 20 retailers in there, you got to give them some leeway. And I think words like should or shall are appropriate here.
well, should I think is.
Yeah, I think should works. Is there anybody else with a comment?
What would we
Okay.
consider an average size project though?
Well, that's a good point. I mean, unfortunately, or depending on how you look at it in Spring Valley, large projects are going to be coming few and far in between as far as new.
From now on, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the land is being pretty much used. And so when we take a look at the shopping centers, that would be a large project as opposed to average size.
If you consider the number of occupancies, that doesn't help at all. Because like the Target shopping center, it has a couple of giant occupancies, but other small ones.
Sure. Same thing is true with Smart and Final, Big Lots, and the rest of them.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other further comment? I feel that we're at a point where we vote to accept this version, and then I clean up the typing and everything, and I talk to Jessica with a, hey, we voted on this, or we didn't vote on it, and that'll enhance the emphasis.
Mr. Chair, maybe you should make a motion.
Okay, I move that we vote to accept these changes.
Second,
Thank you, Bob. And Jesse, do you have that?
Yes, have Tiffany Gonzalez.
See if Tiffany's still with us.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, what's the motion, Jesse?
Well, I believe the motion that you made was to accept the changes to the signs, the sign section for the design review guidelines.
Approve the signage as amended, I guess, would be the.
Yeah, sign section of the design guidelines. Thank you.
Yes.
Next up, Laura Lowe's.
Yes.
Jesse Robles, no. Chris Pierce,
Yes.
Roger Saleh is not here. John Eugenio,
Yes.
Scott Harris.
Did we add anything for the light or anything like that?
Oh, you mean as far as lighting, just that we said we're going to reverse and have the internal illumination preferred over indirect illumination.
But not the length of time or the
Point
actual
of order, we're in the vote right now. There's no more
Ooh.
further conversation on. that.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Scott. No.
Okay, I'll vote no then.
He's
Rod
right.
Gibbons,
Yes.
Chris Pearson,
Yes.
Jim Cousteau,
Yes.
Victoria Brenniga,
Yes.
Ed Woodruff,
Yes.
Bob Edley,
yes,
Tim Snyder.
Yes.
The motion passes. We have 12 yeas, 2 noes, and 1 absent.
Jesse, I don't think I voted.
Scott, I'm so sorry. I did omit you. My apologies. Scott Schaefer.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, something was wrong there. Okay, so we have
Still
12 yay, 12 yeses, 2 noes, 1 absent.
And again, this is not like a construction project where we approve it, they'll go out and they build everything, and then we say, we should have thought about that further. We can revisit this down the road, and it's kind of like a work in progress. I think maybe forever. So, Laura, you still have your hand up?
I hate to do this, but could we soon readdress this and go with Scott's suggestion about the amount of hours that sign's gonna be lit at night. I agree with that totally, and I wish we had remembered to put that in somewhere.
Let me take this to Jessica after I do the cleanup on the changes and see where we go from there. And it could be that they come back and say, you ought to add this, and then I'll just present it as an action item and have it voted at that time. Okay?
Okay, but you could bring it back. I'm just saying, he was right. Scott was right. And we forgot about it and we thought, yeah, that's a good idea. And my chat said we should have a big round of applause for Jim Cousteau for doing this, because I know what a pain in the backside it is.
Yeah, thanks. I had a moment of insanity and just pounded it out, so.
Okay, action items, number 2. Vote on the letter for St. George Street signage to restrict overnight parking. And I have that letter somewhere here. Now, Jim, and Jim and John, I think, who are most familiar with the Campo Road signage, that was addressed to Mirani Pasamarthy.
Yeah, it probably should go to Ernie partly, because Morelli has, Morelli, he's the manager, so he's like the head chief. So it's fine sending it to him and CCing it to Ernie partly.
Okay, so it's okay to send it to Morelli, but to CC Ernie?
Yeah, Morelli's like the big cheese. So, I mean,
Yeah. I got Ernie down at the bottom here. So
yeah, and so Beer, to my knowledge, is retired now. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything to put a CC on there, but he is now retired.
Yeah, probably come back as
replacement.
Probably come back as a contractor. Jesse, was there any photographs that came your way?
Yes, I sent them to the group this shortly before the meeting, and the resident called me. I think she said she had school. Actually, I think she's on now. Donna is the resident that came forward last.
Okay,
yes,
good.
I am here.
Great, thanks a lot. Yeah, I took some photos. They weren't the best. They're mostly drive-bys, but there is an issue of the parking. Some of the comments in the letter here were my personal observations, that the large trucks keep the residential sidewalk from being visible from the street. And also there's been trash along the RVs. And Ms. Gordon, you mentioned the
human waste,
Thank
needles.
you. Right.
There's a school, the kids have to pass for school. And I myself have a disabled child here. So it's a big concern right now. Today, as we speak, there are 2 campers there. One has been there for a month. Another one joined today. And then there are 2 trucks. So I have 2 campers and 2 trucks that I'm looking at directly.
Okay. Okay. And the sign along Campo Road simply says no overnight parking, 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., correct?
That's correct. And that's for all vehicles, right?
That's for all vehicles. Okay. I don't know if we want to go into what the city of San Diego uses, which is you go with gross vehicle weight, things along that line. Because, an RV can be a lot smaller than 10,000 pounds. So I don't know if maybe keep the sign as simple as possible and prevent overnight parking would probably be the best approach, since we were successful with it for Campo Road.
Yeah, and if they have any issues with what we're recommending, they'll come back to us and we can always modify our requests.
Right. Well, I'll definitely add the photos as attachments to the letter if we vote on it in the affirmative. Does anybody have any comment about the text in the letter?
Yes,
Okay, who's that, John?
yes.
Go ahead,
You
John.
don't have numbers there, but where you have pedestrian sidewalk to do same manner of vehicle maintenance, I would eliminate that do, same, manner of, and just put accomplished.
Okay,
I
so
have a question. I'm sorry. It's me, the resident.
oh sure.
This is saying just commercial vehicle. I mean, what would that handle the campers situation as well?
And that was
Well,
my question
I
too.
think we're talking about all vehicles, right?
Yes, I thought so.
I'm sure I saw.
That's not what the letter
campers.
says.
I saw it says parking for commercial trucks exceeding 10,000 pounds. So that would leave out, the big one of the biggest big culprit there, which are the campers. Because they're the ones leaving the waste and all that stuff behind, and needles and drug activities and all that. So I mean, that should be included here as well.
Yeah, I think we should just say no parking from 11 a.m. till 6 a.m. 11 p.m. to 6 a.m.
That's logical.
Yeah,
Which is-
that's why you stop any vehicle from being there, and you don't have to get out and have a discussion about the size, weight, or anything else.
That's correct.
Okay, so
I think we use 6 a.m. on the other side.
oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Very allowable.
Isn't that kind of a stop sign from the county?
So I know at one point we talked about another issue at this intersection is the traffic that's exiting or entering the shopping center because of the ramp. And even if those large vehicles are parked there during the day, it's an impediment to the view of drivers entering or exiting the shopping center.
Yeah, I've been up and down that ramp quite a few times.
So
And,
probably the best way to address that actually would be to put more red curbing there. And that we can also request that. So what we could request that in looking both directions. So you're talking about southbound out of that shopping center next to Chick-fil-A there?
In both directions.
Yeah,
Because-
so I mean, if we requested red curbing, say 100 feet in each direction to improve the line of sight for egress.
I would say from that ramp all the way to Sweetwater, so to the end of that street, because the traffic splits into traffic that is going to go left or traffic that's going to go right. And so if there are vehicles parked on the right side of St. George when you're going towards Sweetwater, you can't, traffic backs up. And so it backs up and then it'll back up into the shopping center and sort of a chain reaction.
So do you know how, so I'm thinking it's probably like 150 feet. So maybe red curb from that south driveway adjacent to Chick-fil-A to Sweetwater Road, and then red curb 100 feet to the east from that driveway would probably give enough line of sight where you could get in and out of there okay.
Great, thank you.
How's that sound?
Great, absolutely. No, that's a great recommendation. I wonder if it would be okay to offer to the county and any other recommendations that they may have to sort of alleviate the traffic issues there. Hopefully they could kind of go down there and see that there are several issues because so there's a stop sign there at St. George and Sweetwater. And traffic is usually pretty fast, and there have been several accidents, people trying to leave St. George or exit off of St. George onto Sweetwater. So I know we've talked about, really looking at this area and looking at some of the traffic issues, maybe the lack of some sort of metering device or a stoplight or something. But that little area right there is really dangerous.
now, we don't necessarily want to restrict traffic on both sides of St. George, right? North and south, just north.
You mean the red?
Red or with the overnight parking, because the other side of the street is residential.
I
And
think both sides would be better to me.
Well, I haven't seen any trucks or RVs parked on the south side of St. George.
And I
Just-
believe it's already against, I could be wrong, but I believe it's against the rules for commercial trucks to be parked in residential areas to begin with.
Okay.
Correct. I would actually recommend having both those sides. So when you're turning on to St. George from Sweetwater, both those sides. So right from the Chick-fil-A ramp and the other side, because again, traffic is coming off of Sweetwater right onto St. George, and it's usually pretty fast. So there have been accidents there just from disabled vehicles being left there, and they can remain there for multiple days because of, you know, they have 72 hours or whatnot. So I think having that also be painted red.
How does the group feel about the heading east? The first residential street is I think it's Leland.
No, Leland goes all the way down. I think it should be Bruckner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's Bruckner.
Brucker Avenue. Sorry, I pronounced it wrong.
So it's Brucker.
No, it's Bruckner. You were correct.
There's an N in there. All right, not
Yeah,
a problem,
there's
guys. Got it. Bing. No, wait a minute.
There is no N.
There's no N?
No N.
Okay. Well, I'll confirm it as I go back through and just check the spelling and everything.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Brucker.
Got it. Okay. And that looks to be where the RV and the trucks parking stops anyway. I haven't seen it beyond that. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, guys. So any other comments about the letter in general or the specifics?
So it's just the north side from Sweetwater to Bruckner.
Brucker.
Right. We're talking about both sides.
Additionally,
Well, there are residences along St. George on the south side. We would probably want to have conversations with those folks to generally, you know, I know when we did the no parking on Campo Road by the Jack in the Box, in order to do it, because we originally were going to do no parking on both sides of the street, but in order to do the no parking on the residential side of the street, there would have had to been some level of agreement by the property owners in those houses. So I would argue right at this point that we not consider no parking on the south side of St. George Street until that question is addressed. I would think it might be fine to do a red curb on both sides of St. George between Sweetwater Road and Safford Street, which is that first little street that goes off right adjacent to the driveway that goes up into the shopping center. That would address Jesse's concern about traffic coming onto St. George off Sweetwater Road and having some of their view blocked by vehicles parked on the south side of St. George. Is that correct, Jesse?
Yes, thank you, Jim. Yes, that's correct. And I would agree with that recommendation. There are obviously those houses on that side of St. George. So
Yeah, but there's no frontage on St. George between Safford and Sweetwater Road for a home. It's the side of the residence, correct? I think
Correct.
those homes are actually addressed on Safford Street.
correct.
So we could probably request red curbing on that whole stretch there on both sides to help help line the sites, and especially I'm sure there's it must be pretty messy with Chick-fil-A probably getting a lot of traffic and cars coming in and out of that. And it's a very dangerous driveway. I mean, it's a steep driveway going up into and out of that shopping center. It's
Anyway.
in today's world, I don't think it would get approved to even be built.
Yeah, I've been up and down it a few times recently, and yes, I've been impressed about how steep it is.
Yeah, it's so steep that your hood blocks you from seeing what the hell you're getting ready to run into, you know?
Should we just ask for an advisory and ask the county to inspect that entire site and have them give us a recommendation that we could work on?
I would like to think the letter would inspire that.
Right. Then thank you, Laura. That's kind of what I was asking earlier. Is like, can we kind of explicitly ask for, all these specific asks are great, and I think we should make them. But very clearly, call out, this area is and has been an issue for a long time. We'd really like for them to really, bring the experts and look at what can be done, because I know even for the Campo Road situation we were talking about. Even like what would a permitting situation look like, right? Like it's so dense over there. And I think, Donna, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think some of those neighbors also have motorhomes, right? So if they, and I think they've, because I tried to canvass the neighborhood a few years back when we tried to get sort of some traction on this. And I remember having a conversation with one of the neighbors that they do have, motorhomes, and they will occasionally park them on the other side. So I'm sure the county has its due diligence, and like Laura says, if they can just kind of take a look at the area and
I don't think those
Haven't seen any
residents are.
motorhomes parked on Campo Road. I just see the commercial, the 18-wheelers.
Yeah.
The important thing is you got to be diligent about calling the highway patrol and informing them that when they're breaking the rules, because there's some trucks from Tennessee that do it all the time. And I'll make the call.
Right,
So-
that's the other part of it, is CHP needs to be diligent in terms of the 72-hour rule in
Yes.
at any location. I mean, I have neighbors in my neighborhood that park their motorhome, long-term trailers, long-term on our residential street, and, far in excess of the 72 hours, and technically that's not legal.
Yeah, but if there's residents along Campo Road have motorhomes and trailers and boats and whatever, they want to park them, they can always park them on the south side in front of their residence.
True. So my thought about this letter is that it's going to be pretty much the first salvo across the bow of traffic engineering, and I want to open it up to discussion. I'm actually talking to Morale about the school parking, school pickup and drop off issue. So I'm going to use this letter as a, hey, oh, by the way, I don't necessarily want to, give them all the direction they think they need and not hear back from them, but actually to solicit a conversation.
Yeah, and the only maybe reservation I have at all on this letter is some of the stuff that's more of a sheriff issue. In other words, if there's people leaving feces on the roadway or on the sidewalk, or the sidewalk's blocked or something like that, I'm not so sure that's traffic engineering.
That'd be the
Absolutely
sheriff.
right.
Well, the school bus has to drop off and pick up my son too, and that's always an issue as well.
Yeah,
for
so
them.
traffic engineering can deal with parking on the streets, and they can do no parking signs. And if that alleviates the other concerns, then so be it. But I think they would be more swayed when you're having arguments about line of sight issues and lack safety related issues related to traffic, as opposed to the other challenges that come about as a result of these long-term campers doing things they shouldn't be doing. Because that's really more of a sheriff enforcement question.
Right. Yeah, hopefully this letter, if it works as it's intended, will alleviate having to call the sheriff, having to call CHP. Although I think that we'll probably be getting CHP involved anyway, but at least the signs will give us the foundation to be able to say, hey, it's time for them to get ticketed or towed.
So, hey, Tim, sorry to jump in here. I know
No
Chris
problem.
and John have their hand up, but I reached out to sheriffs and CHP since last time Donna came to the group. And, really, the people that I've spoken to were not aware of which responsibilities they are responsible for, right? Because there's the weight regulation, and then there's the crime issue, like Jim said. If there's those sort of issues, that's a sheriff's issue. But if there's a concern of those vehicles being on there because they're over the 10,000 pounds, that's a CHP issue. And so You know, when I talked to CHP and sheriffs, you know, they really just suggested that we have a meeting with the captain, but I didn't want to kind of go there without having this meeting. So,
Well, I think as long as we keep the sign simple and just make it 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., no overnight parking like Campo Road. I think that answers the gross weight question and the type of vehicle question. So it kind of wraps everything up in a nice little neat bundle.
Yeah, and if they're amenable to putting that in and doing the red curbing on both sides of St. George between Safford and Sweetwater Road, and no parking 11 to 6 on the north side between Sweetwater Road and Brucker, then that should alleviate the other problems. And then we'll we'll revisit this and, you know, after this signage is put in and the curbing, and see how it looks in 3 or 4 months.
Gotcha. Chris Pierce, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so can we make those changes right now? Can you just scroll down a little bit and say instead of 100 feet from Sweetwater to Stafford?
Yeah, but Stafford only goes one way on the south side.
Both sides of the street, but I think it's kind of implied, but no.
Well, see, we need to have some red curbing on the north side east of Safford, because Safford actually comes into St. George west of that driveway that leads up into the shopping center. So I'm sitting here looking at.
So how far is
Google
100
Maps.
feet into St. George? Is it past Safford?
Well, no, we're talking about red curbing the entire south side of St. George between Sweetwater Road and Safford.
So
I thought the north side too.
Yeah, then the north side as well. From Sweetwater Road to, we could say,
just to clarify real quick, the side where the shopping center is, that sidewalk from the distance from the Chick-fil-A driveway to the stop sign is longer than the sidewalk on the Safford side, right?
Correct.
So on the
That's
residential
correct.
side.
That's
So
correct.
that's why I was saying, you know, do the entire Safford side and the entire side where the shopping center is.
All the way to where? To Brucker?
Correct.
oh, no parking, red zone? They're probably not going to go for that.
Yeah.
I
was
was
thinking-
I can
It's gonna be
imagine that
hard
all
enough.
of the people that live there are gonna be very upset because they use their garages for storage and
Yeah.
and everybody parks their car on the street, so might get a lot of pushback, but I agree with having them do that, but they're probably not gonna let it happen.
The county doesn't like painting curbs red because then they need to maintain it. I put in a request just to put in front of a hydrant and they refuse to do that. So this is going to be a challenge in itself, but I don't think they'd go definitely not the whole length from Bruckner to Sweetwater on the north side.
Yeah.
That's fine. My biggest concern really, and where most of the accidents have been, is at that entrance to St. George. So as long as both those sides, I'd really like to see both those sides. And that 100 feet, I think, Jim, you know, I think, you know, that's a good point, 100 feet, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
Donna?
okay, I'll go ahead and I keep that. Any other comments or questions from the group? Doesn't look like it. We're going to need a motion. Does anybody care to make a motion?
Like to make a motion to approve the letter with the changes.
Great. Thank you. Already saved them. And any second? That's Bob for a second. Jesse for the motion. So when you're ready, Jesse, take the vote, please.
Tiffany Gonzalez,
Yes.
Laura Lowe's,
Yes,
Jesse Robles, yes. Chris Pierce,
Yes.
Roger Saleh is absent. John Eugenio,
John, you're muted.
Yep. Oh, I'm muted. I'm
No,
not
no,
muted.
you're on. You're on.
You're good.
that's a yes vote.
I had, yes, I had to put the dog out. She had to do her duties.
No problem. Scott Harris,
Yes.
Scott Schaefer. Scott Schaefer,
Scott, you're muted.
Huh? Oh,
I'll come back to Scott. Rod,
Yes.
Chris Pearson,
Yes.
Jim Cousteau,
Yes.
Victoria Brenica,
Yes.
Edward Woodruff,
Yes.
Bob Edley,
Here, yes.
Tim Snyder,
Yes.
and Scott Schaefer.
Yes.
You-
Yeah,
and-
sorry about that. Yep, yes.
You're good. We have 14 votes in the affirmative and 1 absent.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on to the approval of minutes for 8-9. Jesse, do you have those? And I think I've set you up to be a co-host. So I've stopped my share.
Sorry, Tim, I was muted. No, I do not have that handy. I don't know if you have it handy or not. I was.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look and see if I've got it close here.
My apologies.
That's quite all right. You don't want to know how many file folders I have.
Hey,
Well,
Tim,
can we?
I have the document if there were no other changes. sent,
Right.
I can pull it up.
Oh, no, I've got it.
All right.
I think. So let me just go back to the meeting. Yep. One place. Screen. Start share. Let's see. The 9th, right? Correct. Okay. It's kind of big. Make it a little smaller. Okay. Should we anybody got any comments about it or edits needed?
motion to approve.
Second,
Second,
Good. That was Bob on a second. Sorry, Scott.
that's right.
All right. So Jesse, if you go ahead and go down the roster.
Yes. Tiffany Gonzalez,
Yes.
Laura Lowe's,
Yes.
Jesse Robles is yes. Chris Pierce,
Yes.
Roger is absent. John Eugenio.
I got one comment first. I want to thank, who's doing the minutes? Tiffany?
Tiffany.
Yeah, she did a great job. And I vote yes.
Fantastic. Yes. Scott Harris,
Yes.
Scott Schaefer,
Yes.
Rod Gibbons,
Yes.
Chris Pearson,
Yes.
Jim Cousteau,
Yes.
Victoria Brenica,
Yes.
Edward Woodruff,
Yes.
Bob Edley,
yes.
Tim Snyder.
Yes.
We have 14 votes in the affirmative, 1 absent.
Great.
All right. This should be today's. All right. So let's go to group business, item F. Any announcements? Any announcements from the group? Hope I'm not muted. Am I muted? You guys hearing me okay?
No, we hear you.
I hear we hear you loud and clear.
Everybody wants to get over with the meeting, I think.
Okay, reports on
This is
chair.
Scott- wait a second. This is Scott Harris. I think I'd like to echo what John was saying to Tiffany, that thank you very much for your everything that you did.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very
Absolutely.
much. Very good. job.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
You know that.
Yes.
Hope you can come back and do it some more, Tiffany.
Yeah.
We miss
So,
you.
as far as chair reports, I've got 2 kind of projects here. One of them is a pre-intake interview. There's an empty lot. It's good. It's a single APM. It's APN 10 acres. It's bordered by Grand Avenue and Grand, Date, and Eucalyptus. And it's on the east side, the west side of Grand. And
Top
then,
of the hill,
I'm sorry, say again?
top of the hill.
Not quite, but close.
And eucalyptus, yeah.
They want to put in 7 units of approximately 1 acre and
Oh, that's the one we've seen before. We
No,
haven't taken a vote on it, but is it a different project than the one we saw?
did we take a vote on it before?
No, we never
No.
voted on it. We just,
It was
they
presented.
yelled at us because they weren't, well, how come you're bringing this forward? We're not ready to bring it to you. And I,
Right. Well,
okay.
the county has actually told them to bring it forward. I have photographic simulations of how the property is going to be presented, the 7 lots. I have the grading. I have not necessarily site elevations of the different structures, but I do have an overhead of how it's going to lay. And I wanted to see if I could get 1 or 2 volunteers to go through it and treat this as a pre-intake interview. Laura's got her hand up. You want to get involved, Laura?
As long as John or hello.
I think Bob, you were involved in
Besides
that,
John
weren't
can
you?
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Rob
we,
and I
That's
and
it,
Laura
Bob,
looked at it.
yes.
Bob, I'll go with you, Laura.
well, yeah, three of you is fine. I mean,
I have no problem showing up also.
and I'm not necessarily sure even a site visit is necessary because it's right now it's just scrub.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, but a site visit gives you some appreciation for the
Yes.
elevation challenges on that property. So I think
Yes.
it's probably a good idea.
It's
If
also
Yeah.
sensitive land.
okay, so who do we got here? We got Laura.
Bob and John.
Bob and John.
Laura, Bob, and John. Okay, good.
And I thought I heard,
Rod,
yeah, I heard Rod on that too. He was volunteering.
Okay, Rod. too.
Okay, we got to be.
Everybody.
As long as we don't have a quorum, that's fine with me.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, I'll send all the material to you guys tomorrow morning. I had a couple of conversations with the guy today, so I was able to squeeze out the material. So I'll send it all to you guys, and then we can go from there. All right. The second thing is that John Eugenio would appreciate this on 9600 Lamar Street. These are pretty good size pieces of property. There's an open culvert on the side of the road where it's literally a corrugated pipe that they use for storm drainage. And it's sitting there in a hole, probably 2 or 3 feet deep. And this property renter, and he has the blessing of the property owner, wants to find out what they can do about it, because if you park along there or drive along there, you're going to drop right into it. It's probably about 5 or 6 feet across and about 3 feet deep. And he said, yeah, he says it does drain. It's not blocked or anything. It's part of the system. He remembers the last time it rained hard, the water ran through it, but they don't have any grate on top of it or any kind of concrete box or anything to protect it. And I can imagine they're getting a certain amount of dirt and debris and trash and everything going down that at the same time.
That'd be a public works request.
That's
Yeah,
a Jim
actually-
Bolt's issue.
Yeah, he actually called and talked to a couple of people, and they seemed to kind of shine him on and say, just cover it with a sheet of plywood and that'll be fine. So I think it needs to be something a little more permanent than that, if you know what I mean. Does anybody want to just take that on so they can have some interesting conversations with Public Works?
What's the address?
9600 Lamar Street.
Lamar.
It's, if you look at it on Google Maps, it's got kind of a curvy driveway, and he's actually sent me 2 or 3 photographs of the drain. So
Is it on county easement?
Chris Pierce, I'll take it.
okay, Chris. Yeah, I believe it is in the easement. It's right along the roadbed.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris, I'll send you the material. The guy's really nice. He's 76 years old. I think he's still working.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, really.
Hey, I was implying that was young, John. So Okay, so Chris, I'll send that to you in the morning. And let's see. I guess CSA 128, I'm done with my comments. Anything on CSA 128?
No, we didn't have a
Nothing since-
meeting since our last meeting. So our next meeting will be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Okay. And Jim's got a little update on the Traffic Advisory Committee.
Yeah, I received an email last week from Traffic Advisory Committee informing me that Board of Supervisors District 2 have vacated my assignment to the Traffic Advisory Committee. So I'm no longer on Traffic Advisory until such time that District 4 either elects to nominate me for representing District 4 or not. So I'm sort of in limbo. I no longer serve on the committee.
How can we do something about that?
Well,
Contact Fletcher's office.
I've done what I've sent application both through the county clerk for the Board of Supervisors and directly to the supervisor's office. I've sent copies of it to a couple of the supervisor's staff. And
What if we get one from the actual planning group itself saying we need to have this position on, not just eliminated, and they just erased it, it sounds like.
well, they're going to appoint somebody to that position. It could be anybody that lives in District 4 in the unincorporated area. So it could be our planning group, could be the Aladuro planning group for that matter. Because I think
Jim, so I think part of the challenge, part of the issue right now is that there was not D4, there was not a D4 rep on. I remember a little while back you said there is a plan to put that make that D4 position. That has not happened yet. So that's what they're waiting on, is those gears to go into effect.
Yeah, I'm under the understanding that is now in effect, that they have been put in place. I could be wrong, but that's what I understand it to be.
Is each supervisor only allowed one appointee?
Yes.
That's correct.
And actually, how many of them are open right now, Jim?
Well, 2's open. I don't exactly know. I haven't seen the roster.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
so like, because the county puts out their vacant committee positions, and the D4, none of the TAC positions have been put on there, and that's step one of getting the county to then pull applications for anyone who has applied to that position. So until that happens, they're not going to look at applications.
Right. So
Jim
so
Desmond's,
here's the email I received from Benjamin Baker, who's assistant engineer with County Public Works. He sort of like serves as a secretary for the recording secretary for the TAC. He says, Jim, we wanted to notify you that we have been informed that District 2 position on TAC has been officially vacated. We also wanted to let you know that, as we are aware, the District 4 position remains vacant. So that's just his understanding. Now, Scott, I don't know whether those positions have officially been put in place by Board of Supervisors. I'm sort of under the impression they have been. And maybe I don't know if Ryan's still on the call or whether he had to
Yeah,
leave.
he just shared the latest roster, so I'm pulling that up right now, see what it shows.
I assume then that they can just vacate anytime they want to without, and the supervisors can. Is that true?
well, it's
Yeah,
not-
I mean, we serve at the pleasure of the supervisor.
Okay.
not
and we-
elected or
When
appointed.
they change supervisors, they're allowed to put in their own people then, their friends and stuff.
Well, sure.
You know what it's for?
Well, and to be fair, I no longer reside in District 2, so by that fact, I can no longer represent District 2 on
I see.
TAC.
Sure.
Correct.
Now, I did leave a message for Jamela Johnson on Chair Fletcher's staff. And I emphasized in my message to her, I said, there's some vacancies that need to be filled in this traffic committee. My recommendation and my thought about it is that try to get people who are on the planning groups, because the two groups work together pretty regularly, with the planning groups being kind of the boots on the ground, and then feeding information into TAC so that things can be done about traffic issues. And I haven't heard back from her. That's been about a week. So, she's been pretty communicative in the past. So I guess they haven't made a decision about it yet, but I can certainly call her back and check with her again.
Oh, so that's interesting. So yeah, the document that
it's showing
Ryan
earnings.
shared, it is showing that's vacant, but when you look at the unoccupied list on the CAC, because I just looked at it the last time you sent that email, Jim, that is not listed on the vacant ones. So that there must be some two codes, two hallway mates not talking to each other or something.
So yeah, the roster I'm looking at that I just saw, that it must be the one Ryan sent us, showing Ernie Bartley being the representative for seat 4.
No, that's seat 4, right? So that's not the same.
That's right. Seat 4. That's right.
Yeah, seat 17. The very last one is district
That's
4,
right.
and that's
There we
showing
go.
as vacant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I understand. Yeah.
Okay. So
So District 3 is vacant. District 4 is vacant. I would
District 2?
imagine District 2 is vacant now unless they've already made an appointment.
And Jim, you live in District
I'm in District 4 now.
4 now. Okay.
Yeah, so District 2 is vacant now as well.
I see.
So, and that's where my name was listed there.
Okay.
So, and not all districts are within the county, I believe, supervisorial districts. District 5 it has a representative who's been on the, Matt Wellhauser serves District 5. District 1 is now represented by Mike Clowers. So District 2 and 4 are not yet in District 3.
yeah. Does anybody know Clowers? Is he on the Bonita Planning Group?
Don't know him.
Yeah, or Sweetwater Planning Group.
Hey, everybody, this is Ryan. I'm texting, but then I thought, I might as well just jump in. I believe Mike Clowers is on the Sweetwater Planning Board.
Good. Okay, thanks.
So I guess we wait and see. I haven't been able to get any feedback from.
Well, you've done such an excellent job on that, Jim, and I just hope that if you want to still continue doing it, because there's no one knows more about traffic than you.
Right. And Jim, after I saw you at the Quarry Road thing on Friday, I did send an email to Fletcher staff also elevating it to, just letting them know.
Right.
Good.
But you haven't heard anything back yet.
I haven't, no.
Yeah.
We'll
It's a
we'll
little disappointing that, no feedback at all. I mean,
Well, yeah.
I would at least out of just respect say a email that we're still in the process, or thank you for your interest or something, but just nothing,
We'll keep chipping away at it. Okay, highway cleanup. John's got some updates.
We cleaned up Sunday, this last Sunday, we did the ramps on Sweetwater Springs Boulevard and picked up 3 good sized bags of trash, which included pieces of automobiles and rims and pieces of rims that were aluminum rims. And I also reported to the Caltrans the damage that was done to some of the sidewalks where cars left the roadway. I mean, you couldn't believe some of the damage. And also they ran over some of the trees there on the off ramp on Sweetwater Street off ramp, and also they ran over the sprinkler boxes, control boxes. I don't know if they're gonna fix them or not, but at least I reported it to them. That's all I
Thank you.
have.
Okay, thanks, John. Let's see, sign projects. I've already talked about that. Next meeting, September 13th. I'm thinking we've got somebody from the county coming. So I'm already working on the agenda for that meeting. Laura, you had your hand up. Do you have anything else to contribute to the cause here?
Sorry, I forgot to take it down.
That's quite all right. Yeah. Okay, guys, any other comments, thoughts for the end of this meeting?
Have a good evening.
All right, we're going to call an adjournment at 8:46 p.m. Thanks, guys. See you in 2 weeks. Take care.